I'm your host, Mark Passio, and we have a great show lined up for you here today. We are going to be continuing with our solutions-based approaches toward reversing the direction and the tide that humanity has been going along with for such a long time, and attempting to come into the flow of creation to acquire knowledge about who we truly are, and to ultimately get back to a place where we understand true freedom and live it in our day-to-day lives. Today, as part of our solutions-based approach, we are going to begin an introduction to the Trivium, the classical methodology for how to learn. The first image shows what we're really trying to change. Okay, this is an image of a movie theater with a movie playing on the screen. Okay, and the movie that's on the screen shows the condition of the world. It shows a sorcerer behind an immense pyramidal structure, and the sorcerer is looking through the eye at the capstone of this pyramid, similar to the pyramid on the back of the $1 bill, and he's behind it, hidden, well veiled, and he's pulling the strings of all of the people below in this structure, okay? And all of the energy that this world has is flowing to the sorcerer, and he is actually breathing in that energy. He is consuming it by breathing it into himself. This is essentially a real quick allegory or metaphor for what this world actually is. It has become a farm of sorts, you could say. Humanity has become slaves and feed for this subclass of people, if you even want to call them that have basically manipulated us into giving away our energy to them. And there are now, at this time in history in which we live, many people who are beginning to recognize that this is the case. Humanity, you could say, falls into three basic groups. And again, this is a generalization for the purposes of explaining a concept. One remains sitting in the chairs, okay? Doesn't think they have the power to do anything, and so they don't try. They don't think that they have the ability to do anything about it. And this is for the people who are even in the theater seeing what's going on. You know, so you could say that there's a fourth group that doesn't even recognize any part of it and are completely unconscious. But for the people who do recognize it, you have people who are willing to sit there, remain passive, and ultimately do nothing. The second group wants to shout and complain and try to rearrange things at the level of the movie. Okay, they think that they're going to affect change just by physically restructuring things within the present existing system. And that's magically going to change the movie that they're witnessing take place, the actual manifestation of events. They think they can solve the problem at the level of effects, at the level of manifestation, which is, it's too late. It has already manifested. The third group of people recognize the law of cause and effect, and understand that if you're ever going to change the manifested result, you have to rise in consciousness to gain access to the plane of causality. The causal nature of the problem needs to be recognized and accepted. Then you can apply that knowledge of the causes of that effect to the solution. Only then can you actually create a solution that will have any true effect in the plane of manifestation. The people who don't understand the causal factors are the people who are banging on the movie screen. The people who want to get to the causal factors, address those problems from that level of awareness, and then truly change the things that created the problem, not the manifesting of the problem, but the things that actually caused the imbalances to begin with, are the people who are smart enough to realize that the only way you're ever going to change that movie is to get up, walk to a deeper level, which is where the projection room is, Okay, climb up to a deeper level of awareness, which is the projection room, and then actually change what is being projected from the source onto the screen, which is the manifested result. I have brought a quote back from show number one of What on Earth is Happening. I put this quote up there for people's consideration. It was from the book known as Transformation of America by Kathy O'Brien and Mark Phillips. The book is essentially about trauma-based mind control and the occult rulership of this country and, in fact, the world. And this is a great quote from Phillips, who wrote the first section of the book. He said, "For every problem, there exists a solution. The formula for problem solving rests firmly on the quality of the supporting research information concerning the nature of the problem." So he's recognizing that you can't treat the symptoms, you have to go to the causal factors. You have to understand enough about the nature of the problem, the causal factors, and you come to that understanding by gathering information, by coming into knowledge of the nature of the problem. Then you can understand how things got that way. And in that understanding, you are actually obtaining a very, very powerful force. That is the answer to the question, why? If you don't have the why behind anything, you have no power to affect change. What we have to understand is essentially what the Trivium is. The Trivium is a pathway to truth. It is the methodology for knowing how to learn or know anything, how to determine the veracity of information, how to weed through falsehoods and eliminate those impurities so we don't take them in as mental food. That's essentially what the Trivium is. Then based on that accurate information, we can come to understand meaning in things. We could answer the question, why? And then in answering that question, why, we become empowered to act, to actually create true, positive, and lasting change in our lives. This is the way that we can improve ourselves. And ultimately, it has to do with the improvement of the mind. The Trivium is intricately and inextricably interwoven with the human psyche and our ability to improve the quality of our mental, psychological, and spiritual well-being. So let's first, of course, look at the word, okay? Because everything starts with that vibratory energy of the word. Why is this the word for this methodology? The Trivium comes out of some of the most ancient mystery school traditions in human antiquity. I would say it predates ancient Egypt. In small pockets, humanity has known and used this technique, this methodology, for discovering truth about anything since time immemorial. The word Trivium comes from the Latin language. The Latin word tres or tria, okay, means three, the number three. And then the second part of Trivium is via, okay, via, vi in Latin. Via in Latin means a way, a path, or a road. Okay, so we also use the term way to describe a method. That's the way to do something. Okay, it also means you start at one location and then you travel to a destination. That's what a path is for. It connects two places. So what we want to connect is where we're at now in the human condition, and we want to actually travel to the truth. We want to get to the underlying causes, the true underlying causes of our current condition, so that we can become empowered to change it. So what Trivium really means is the three paths, the three roads, or the three ways You could look at it as the three methods, okay? I've named it here the threefold path to the truth. As we've seen, 3 is a sacred number in just about every ancient mystical tradition: thought, emotion, and action. This concept of threefold, we have 3 brains: the reptile, the mammal, and the human, the triune brain. The concept of the 3 in 1, the one overarching methodology that is capable of helping us to learn how to know anything. It's ultimately 3 methods which all bring us to the same place at the center, which represents the truth, okay? So, the Trivium itself is actually part of a larger threefold method or a threefold path. The Trivium works in conjunction with something known as the Quadrivium. The Quadrivium, which means 4 methods or 4 paths, 4 roads. These ultimately form the sacred number 7. 3 plus 4 is 7. Another sacred number, 7 gods of the ancient world, the 7 chakras, okay? The 7 steps on the ladder to God, the tree of life. So the Quadrivium, or the fourfold path, is the quantification methods that are used in conjunction with the Trivium. These are the sciences of measurement. Numbers play a huge role in the Quadrivium. The Trivium and the Quadrivium both work in conjunction with our 5 senses, okay? The 5 senses are the bridge between these 2 sciences, these 2 methodologies, ancient methodologies. These are the 2 methods that help our 5 senses come into harmony with truth. That's what needs to be understood. We are using these as methodologies to bring our awareness through our senses, to bring our awareness into harmony with truth. So perception is not reality. It can waver widely off from what reality actually is, from what the truth is. The truth is just that which is. It is knowable through the study of the past. It is knowable through taking in information and properly gathering and processing and using it. Once again, we're talking about perception as not being reality, but it could come into harmony with reality. We're not perceiving at all times what the actual reality is. We have filters on, okay, that veil us from an accurate perception of reality. The idea of the Trivium is to attempt to, it's a methodology for removing those filters to be able to see the truth as it actually is, readily accept it, and then do something about it, do something with it. Get involved, step into the slipstream of active co-creation. The classical method is probably the one that most people are familiar with in the words that are used to describe this threefold process or method. And again, the order of the steps are all important. They matter. You can't take them out of order. You take them out of order, you destroy the entire methodology, and it will not work for you or anyone else. So the first step in the classical interpretation of the Trivium is known as grammar. The second step is logic, and the third is rhetoric, in that order, okay? In the esoteric interpretation, which is the one I generally, I don't even want to use the word use. I mean, you're using the same method regardless of how you look at it. I look at the Trivium as this form, as knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Knowledge corresponding to the first step, or grammar in the classical tradition, understanding corresponding to logic, or the second step, the intermediary step, and then wisdom corresponding to rhetoric, the third and final step. And I'll end this whole section on the Trivium with a quote from the great teacher Terence McKenna, who talked about grammar, who talked about information that surrounds us and that we inwardly form ourselves with. McKenna was a wordsmith like no other. And one of his statements was that the world is made of words. And if you know the words that the world is made of, you can make of it whatever you wish. Think about that in relation to the Trivium, the knowledge, the grammar, the words. taking it in, processing it accurately, then outputting it in a way that can help us to affect true lasting change and put the solution into practice through wisdom.